two-year schools in Texas. We're unique in that, first, we're a state agency and not a local or regional community college. Our board is selected by the governor. Curtis Cleveland, our guest today, is a member of our board. He's a Wacoan on our board. Our public support comes strictly from Austin. We don't levy property taxes. And our mission is 100% workforce training. We're not the school to come to if you haven't decided yet what you want to do with your life. We're the school to come to when you've got a particular occupation in mind. And we're going to train you for it as well as anybody that in the country. Indeed, according to Community College Weekly, TSTC confers more associate degrees in engineering-related fields than any other technical school or community college in America. So, if you've only seen the Waco campus, you may, from Harold's remarks, you'll know we are across the state, and so you only see the tip of the iceberg. Here's some for instances. We're #1 in Texas in diesel mechanics. We're the #1 in Texas in electrical and power control systems. We produce 80% of the power linemen in Texas out of the public sector. And the list goes on. When you specialize, you get really, really good at it, and you get really, really big at it. So that's TSTC. And the final thing that really makes us special is it's the employment outcomes of our students. In other words, do they get a job, and how much are they paid when they go to work that drives our public funding? So we're paid solely on the outcomes that we achieve in the marketplace. And so let me share with you this commercial done by a good friend of mine. It's a celebrity endorsement. So see if you enjoy it.
A young man named Justin Friend attended Texas State Technical College in Waco and received a 2-year certificate in welding. In 2013, in his first full year on the job, this young man made about $130,000. Last year, in his second year, he made about $140,000. So I'm thinking, if this governor thing doesn't work out, I'm going to TSTC and getting myself a welding certificate.
I've used this with permission. That was in 2015. MCC, TSTC both celebrated their 50th anniversary in 2015. And the governor did his initial State of the State address. And he was talking about the fact that higher ed comes in a lot of different varieties, and one size doesn't fit all. As part of those remarks, he said that. Total surprise to us, we didn't know it was coming. But it is true. Later, by the way, in order to give him some job security, we conferred him with an honorary welding degree. So something that really achieved. So if we could, let's start with the end in mind. And by the way, all the data that I show you were compiled by Rich Fragel, who is one of the noted workforce economists in Texas. He spent 25 years with the Workforce Commission before joining us about 5 years ago. So this is the jobs in Texas by education level. And if you look really closely, what you'll see is something that surprises most people. Somewhere about 29% of all the jobs in our economy require a bachelor's degree or higher. 29%. When I ask people, without showing them this, how many jobs in the economy require a bachelor's degree or higher, the guesses I get usually start at 50% and go up from there. What you will see, though, is another 28 to 30% of the jobs are actually require some kind of post-high school training, but not necessarily a bachelor's degree. And that's where our robust 2-year sector comes in. Because these can be industry certificates, they can be college certificates, they can be associate degrees, or a whole range of possibilities that the jobs demand. And a mere bachelor's degree won't qualify you for those jobs because most of them tend to be technical or occupational in nature. You'll see in a minute that they also pay really well. So, let's start with this acknowledgement. We're all going to acknowledge all higher ed is really beneficial. All of it is. It doesn't matter what your major is, it doesn't matter where you go to school, it's beneficial. And here's just some of the benefits. And any of us who have gone to college have realized these in our career. The first 3 of them are kind of intangible. It's about, kind of raising your level, if you will. And all college will provide these benefits. The final one starts to get a bit more tangible and could actually be monetized if you like. And so for the rest of my comments, I'm going to focus on that 4th bullet. But every time I do, will you to yourself say, and there's all these other benefits too. So is that a deal? Okay. Here's some of the realities I'm going to show you. K-Paul, if you want, I will send you a copy of this. Would you like that? Okay. K-Paul's taking pictures of the slides, so I want to help him out. Does he? Oh, okay. Okay. So here's something that snuck up on us that I think most people don't realize. That red line at the top is the cost of higher education in America. And I mean the cost to the consumer. And as you can see, the blue line is medical care, and everything else are common consumer prices. So you can see higher ed has significantly grown out of proportion in terms of the cost to the consumer versus the rest of what we pay for every day. An example of this is when I went to Texas A&M for my undergraduate, in the early 70s, I paid $3 a credit hour. $3 a credit hour. Today it's 100 times that number. And my middle class family skipped a night out of the town and paid my semester bill. Higher ed was in a different place. And it allowed my father to say this to me. Son, son, it doesn't matter what you study, just get a degree. And that was really good advice back then. It was outstanding. Look where I ended up. So it worked. Here's the next one. In this one, what you see is the blue line on the bottom is the purchasing power of Texans. And the other lines then are higher ed. Now, for the 2 years, throwing pens around. For the 2-year sector, that's the dashed black line at the bottom. 2-year remains the affordable sector, without a doubt. And so, what this is showing us is, and I won't go into all the policy shifts that occurred in the 70s and 80s, but generally speaking, what the federal government did is they switched from providing direct benefit to the universities and colleges and took a new course, and that is, you know what, we're going to give the monetary benefit directly to the student, and then they can take that benefit to whichever institution they prefer. That way we don't have to pick which institutions are best, the student will. But the unintended consequence of that is it also made the student wholly insensitive to the price because they were getting federal money to do a lot of that, but most of it was in the form of loans. So it's really no surprise that this is the discourse we hear in our society right now. A shocking number of recent college grads move back home because they can't afford to live on their own. Now, I'm not going to wade into the whole debate about should we forgive student loan debt, that politics aren't the point here. The point is that in today's system, often people have to borrow to go to school. And that's the rationale I'm using to suggest that that fourth bullet point, where we're going to talk about the financial impacts of higher ed, is the right dialogue to have today. And so here's what study after study after study shows. About 4 out of 5 college freshmen say, I'm here today because I want a better job. That's absolutely what they say every time. Well, further studies show that better job means something that pays well, it's stable, it's something that will support a family, you know, that kind of thing. That's what they mean by better job. And so the real question at hand is, how do you pick the pathway? How should you do that? And you'll see in these comments that I contend one of the many right answers to the way to answer that question. To how to get a better job by going to college. So I was sitting in my recliner watching the news on Saturday, and up popped a story about higher ed. Now the angle on this story happened to be about the way that affirmative action was now prohibited within or by the Supreme Court. That's not the point of what I want to show you. What I want to show you is how a higher ed expert talks about the benefits of higher ed and how to select higher ed, and see if you can figure out how many times they say the word average, starting with the news person and then going to the guest. Count how many times.
Tonight on PBS News Weekend, changing landscape for college applicants after the Supreme Court's landmark ruling on race-conscious admissions. What about students and their families? Sandy Baum is a senior fellow at the Urban Institute's Center on Education, Data, and Policy. While we're on the topic of financial aid, the average cost of attending a state school, tuition, room, board, books, the whole schmear, is about $27,000 this year, and it's $55,000 in private schools. The average graduate is coming out with student debt of about $30,000. Is this worth it? Is college worth it for every student?
College is not worth it for every student, but it is worth it for most students. It's certainly very worth it on average. The average earnings for people who get bachelor's degrees compared to the average earnings for people who don't go to college, there's such a gap that in a year or 2 or 3, you're going to make up that difference.
Sorry for the bad edits there. I did that this morning at about 5 a.m. But that was an excerpt from a live broadcast 2 days ago. What we see nowadays is that this chart right here, and in this case what you'll see is on the left is more education, and on the right is less education. This chart is everywhere. It's in high schools, it's on newscasts, it's everywhere you go, and it is the poster child for the tyranny of averages. Averages hide the range. And so people will look at this chart and they'll make conclusions like this. Conclusions like, any bachelor's degree will make more than any associate degree. Any master's degree degree will outperform any of the other two. And the reason is we aren't exactly mathophiles in our society. We're listening to averages. All averages tell you is if you have an average degree and you get an average job and you're an average person, here's probably what you're going to get. But what if you're exceptional? Or, tragically, what if you're not? What if you're not exceptional and you borrow a ton of money? So this chart is used all the time to sell more higher ed. It draws bad conclusions. It doesn't fit the facts. Let's look at what would. Employers don't hire averages. Employers, by their nature, are selective. And they go out and they find the talent they want. Each one of you who owns a business knows this. You go find the talent you want based on the skill sets. And the more skill and talent, the more you'll pay. And likewise, the inverse. So averages will never tell you what your occupational outcome is going to become. Instead, what you need is ranges. Now I want to tell you right off the bat, this is pre-COVID numbers. So the absolute numbers have surely changed, but the ranges haven't. The overlap hasn't. Look carefully at these numbers, at the shaded yellow area, and what you'll identify is that 9 out of 10 bachelor's degrees overlap with 9 out of 10 associate degrees. It is only the extremes where you see them fail to overlap. Look again at master's degrees, and what you find is about 20% outperform bachelor's. Now, other than MBAs, what do you think that would be? Engineer, maybe, although baccalaureate engineers make a ton of money. Yeah. Computer science can be it. But the point is, if you're helping someone in your family make a decision, you need to know the answer to that question. Should I go back and get a master's? Maybe not. And then look at this one. See, here is the top score for associate's degrees, and you'll see that only half of the professional, the PhD level, called terminal degrees, actually outperform associate degrees. I'll say it a different way. Half the terminal degrees do not outperform an associate's degree. It takes 8 years to get that much education. And if you're borrowing money, what do? So here are the conclusions that ranges will lead you to. Give me a second. Look in particular at the final one. Earnings potential is not defined by how long your degree plan is. Earnings potential is actually driven by something else. These are the right conclusions, and here's what drives earnings potential. It's the field of study. Typically, STEM-oriented credentials earn the best. And that's across the board, from associate to doctorate. STEM-related fields are the highest earners. So if you want to be average, just go get any old degree. You may fall in the top half, you may fall in the bottom, who knows? But if you'll select a STEM program, chances are you're going to be in the top 2 quartiles in terms of the earnings that you get once you leave. And just to show it to you, these are Texas data, pulled from, I think it was last year, 21. Now look at those degree programs. Can you find one that's not STEM? These are the top ones in Texas, by the way, for baccalaureate graduates in 21. It's all STEM. Here's the other fact, though, that is really important. Nearly every one of those degrees requires calculus. I have my two youngest kids. One graduated from Mays School in College Station with a degree in accounting. The other from McCope School in Austin, degrees in accounting. They both had to take calculus. These degrees all exclusively required. So if you or your family member is a math phobic, then you got to ask yourself, where will I fall on the distribution of earnings potential if I go get a bachelor's degree? Here's the associates, and if you look at all of the listings there, you see those are almost exclusively STEM credentials too. And you'll also see the earnings are really similar to the bachelor's. So here's our conclusions, if you will. How am I doing on 90 minutes? So about 30% of kids who leave high school in Texas for years to come need to pursue a bachelor's degree or higher, give or take. Another 30%, give or take, need to go to some kind of college level training or an industrial certification in order to meet the workforce demands of the Texas economy. Places like MCC or TSTC. And what you'll find universally is that STEM programs dominate the top earnings potential no matter which pathway you pick. So what I suggest is for young people who are trying to concentrate themselves in the upper quartile, particularly if you have to borrow money. Pay attention to the field of study first. Then pick your college or pick your length of program. Consider whether you love mathematics or you don't. And what you'll find is you'll be able to consider the return on investment of college. And when ROI is your primary driver, or at least one of many along with the intangibles, what you'll find is you will make it cost effective even if you have to borrow. It's not about how much you have to borrow, it's about whether you earn enough to justify the loan in the first place. That's the point. And so there's the conclusions and the main point. Again, Rich Fragel was a workforce economist who provided me with all the data in this, and I thank him for that and offer his citation. And with that, I conclude my remarks and look forward to your questions. Turn the ship. Let's see. Okay. We've been using AI for a long time. We use it in our software product that we developed called Calibrate. It's a software platform that allows colleges to align the workforce curriculum with the needs of the employer. It quite literally uses machine language processing and AI to read job descriptions and then converts those job descriptions into college learning outcomes so that faculty can drive the curriculum in a rifle shot toward the needs of the employer. So we've used it there. It's already playing a role at virtually every college in America in terms of chatbotting and providing assistance to students. It has scared the pants off most educators because they're concerned that if the machine is as smart as they are, what do you need me for? GSDC sees it exactly the other way around. If the machine can answer most of the questions, then we can spend all our time in the lab where we are honing craftsmanship, the difference maker for technical education is craftsmanship, not scholarship. And so we see it that way. It will, in 20 years from now, higher ed will be fundamentally changed because of AI. How many have seen an Iron Man movie? Okay. In the Iron Man movie, there is an AI-driven system called Jarvis. Jarvis is a computer that is talking to Tony Stark, the protagonist, on a perpetual basis. That computer is situationally aware, omnipotent in its ability to understand almost anything, and provides real-time, contextually appropriate feedback and recommendations to Iron Man while he is in the suit. If you've never watched it, give it a try just to see that. Because within that technology is already in the workplace, which is why during COVID we bought thousands of AR, VR goggles to begin to integrate this kind of technology into the training network. Because if the workplace is using it, then we should be using it too. I'll give you, for instance, the Marine Corps uses it for their tank mechanics. Boeing uses it so that their technicians put the wire loom in the airplane in exactly the right place, in exactly the right sequence. BMW uses it for their mechanics to coach them through each procedure in the event that they are particularly new or doing a procedure they haven't done before. Or, just as importantly, there's been a factory update to the way something gets done. And the technology is contained in eyeglasses type things. In time, our grandkids will have AI integrated to things like contact lenses. And we'll be in constant contact with contextually sensitive, real-time information. You'll never worry about remembering someone's name again. Because up will pop a little bubble pointing to the person going, this is John Captain. I mean, did I get close? Yes, sir.
Why did TSTC choose to, or maybe it wasn't a choice, to be funded the way they are funded?
Oh, it was a choice. Yes.
Did you get more money because you?
Our funding has gone up, has nearly doubled in the past 10 years. Oh, it's a great choice. Yeah. Here was our rationale. Was organizations follow the money. Your organization surely follows the money. We were paid on academic activity, meaning every time a student sat in class, we were getting a check from Texas. So what do you suppose we do? We made every single class as long as possible, every single degree program as long as possible. Every time anybody asked for special workforce training, we made it as long as possible. If you were a manufacturer and you got paid by how many assembly steps were in your product assembly, how would you assemble that product? If a builder got paid by 2x4, do you suppose they'd still be on 16-inch centers? we were chasing the hours. And we had almost lost track of what the whole idea was in the first place, which is to put people to work. Remember the 4 out of 5 people? I'm here to get a great job. So back in '09, we voluntarily went to the legislature and said, we need to change things up. We want to get paid for the end result. And let us manage all the rest. They said yes. Today, we right-size our credentials. And do you know who tells us how big they have to be? Not the faculty, not the administrators, the employers. This is how much training I need my technicians to do. No more, no less. And so we chased it. We caught that bar, and today it has fundamentally changed the way that TSTC does business. I'll give you, for instance, back in 18, 19, right around in there, we canceled 16 programs. And these are programs that were totally viable. The problem was the earnings on those programs were so poor that we couldn't stand the notion of putting a kid in that program and saying, here, study this right here, knowing that right down the hall was a profession that would earn them twice as much money. We felt like that was an abuse of the student and a misuse of state appropriations. That we should focus on the highest value professions that the Texas economy is seeking, and then we would provide the highest ROI to the legislature who pays our bills. That's why we did it, and they love us. So, that. Yes, sir.
The information when at high school level about bachelor's degrees or even in schools, going into the trades versus before I know Mike Roach,
Mike Roach.
You know, but then you go to the college fairs. I've got two in college right now, and that's not the story that's even told.
So, it's getting better all the time. It's getting better all the time. There was, and you're asking me to speak on behalf of secondary ed, and I don't think that's wholly fair. What I can do is talk like people like Chris, who is the super out at Midway. I was saying Woodway, out of Midway. He's got a growing and burgeoning offering all the time, getting stronger and stronger in these technical fields. Whether someone aspires to be an engineer or a technician, the earnings are still going to be great. He is someone who's leading the way in terms of realizing the new realities of the marketplace. The notions that a lot of secondary ed have were actually true in the 60s. Now remember, in the 60s, there's no cell phones, there's no computers, there's not fax machines. Long distance cost extra. It was a pencil and paper economy, and the jobs were bifurcated into two groups, white collar and blue collar. Well, but high school had shop class. So did a lot of college had a shop class. What happened was, there was a time when in an altruistic moment, our society decided, let's send everybody to college. That was really a well-intentioned idea. Numbers don't call for it. And send everybody, or allow everybody access turned into everyone must go to university. And that's where we got. And so it's, attitudes change slowly. They change slowly. So I will tell you, the other is that families, we have a lot of families in Texas who sit around the kitchen table trying to make their decisions about post-secondary pathways, and they aren't armed with a lot of really good info. At TSTC, we started a new outreach this year called Chancellor, where we pay high school counselors to come to our campus and let us show them the benefits of technical ed. And the second thing we do, so that those influencers have an opportunity to share firsthand information. Another thing we do is in a lot of our programs, we offer a money-back guarantee. And it goes like this. You come to school at TSTC, you take one of these 8 or 10 programs, you participate in our extracurricular How to Get a Job seminar series. We run them through interviewing, job searching, stuff like that. And if they do those 2 things and graduate, and they don't get a good job in 6 months, we refund their tuition. So far, we've given 0 refunds. Not a single one. Yes, sir.
You focus so much on STEM, there are professions that are outside of STEM.
I agree.
And I think they're valuable. Like an English teacher, a social studies teacher in high school. They're not STEM.
I agree.
So,
Our culture would wither.
they're left behind.
No, they don't. No. I suggest that this funding approach is right for what we do. I have not said this is right for university, nor have I said it's right for community colleges, though they have taken a strong step in this direction. The intangible parts, I'll go back to what I offered to you. There's incredible intangible benefits. The liberal arts are the wellspring of our cultural sophistication. Without them, our culture would literally wither away. I'm not suggesting there's no place for things like the liberal arts or the fine arts. Life would be horrible without them.
I don't get that.
What I am suggesting is that we aren't sending enough people to the STEM fields, and the workforce economy is proving it. We have a 9% skills gap in Texas between the demands for technicians and the actual supply of technicians. Eddie, do you have all the talent you need? Never. Any of the rest of you in any of the trade fields, in any of the technical fields, you do not have the talent you need. That's universal in Texas. So please don't assume that what I'm saying is the liberal arts and arts and the rest of what a comprehensive college like MCC has to offer are less valuable. I'm just saying for some students, the technical field can be best if, for example, they have to borrow a bunch of money to get there. And I have a son with a degree in music, so, okay. Are we done? Okay. I'll stand up here until you stop raising your hand. Okay, all right.
I really appreciate Mike being here today. I learn more and more about TSTC every time I'm around him and the campus. Most of you may or may not know, but years and years ago, there was this thing called the Texas Air Expo, and we produced that out of the TSTC airport. So I fell in love with TSTC many, many years ago. I probably should have gone back and gotten a degree in something that would have been...
Not too late.
Not too late. Oh, geez. Well, we'll work on that. I want to re-welcome all of our guests today. Please come back and visit again. Maybe you'll get that urge to grab one of our applications and join our Rotary Club. Our next meeting is on October the 9th. I'm told that's a holiday. How did I miss a Monday holiday? But our district governor picked that date to come for our visit. So we are going to have a Rotary meeting. You'll find that Bob Crouch, who is Lieutenant Colonel retired, is a very unique individual. He's very dedicated to Rotary and to service. And he is going to bring a service project for us. And so I need you to think about this and give us some ideas. We are going to put together homeless kits, which are a plastic bag with a toothbrush and toothpaste and deodorant, those kinds of things. And I know if you're like me, when I'm at that red light and somebody is standing outside my window, I think, should I give them a couple of bucks or, but this way you can just pick up one of these bags and I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Anyway, if you would like to have a few of your own, I need to know that. I think the board has already decided that we are going to ask for a number of them for the code. And so we need to give Bob a number of how many units we want to put together when he's here. So if you'll kind of give us an idea how many you may want, then we'll relay that to him and we'll put them together on the night and you'll be able to take them with you right then. I believe that covers Bob's meeting, and I really hope that we show support for the district governor. Chris DeCluitt, who had the same job I did as assistant governor for a while, had visited more than one Rotary meeting with the district governor, and those are probably the least attended meetings all year, and so let's don't do that to Bob, okay? Hope to see you next time. Please stand for the four-way test.